And tell us about, we haven't seen you before. Tell us what you've been up to.
Sure, okay. Um, I was on once before actually, and I'm always missing announcements because I've gotten to the point where emails are just I get about 150. Oh, can you hear me? Oh,
Yeah,
Yeah,
we're
can.
just saying
okay.
hi to Danny.
Hi, Danny.
Hi.
Um, and I'm just finding that I just can't get to all of them, so I kind of ignore them and I just go for the text because people that know me pretty well text me, and then I get things pretty quickly. So I've wanted to be on, but I haven't been able to because I just didn't know about the meeting. So I'm really happy to see everyone today so
Well,
far.
tell us
That's
about
great.
the music world that you live in. How your school is doing, and what's up with Anne and music.
Well, we lost, probably about two-thirds, no, 1/3 of our students during COVID. Unfortunately, a lot of people just did not like the idea of Zooming, but we were very fortunate compared to a lot of businesses that we had the option to Zoom, and people did get used to it. I became a much better communicator because of it, because you have to kind of exaggerate when you're on Zoom. And I kind of pretended like I was a TV star or something, and I always had fun and motivating things to help uh, keep people from getting turned off from Zoom, because especially kids who are on Zoom 6 hours a day, in public school, and then to come on for private lessons after that. Ugh. So we did the best we could, and we're still recuperating from that as far as economy goes. Plus the fact that I may have mentioned last time, we were in the same building for 15 years and had a great location. It was just beautiful. I did a big architectural number on it. It was just beautiful. And unfortunately, we lost our lease. And now we're in a little funky place in Santa Monica that's going to be torn down next year.
Oh
And
my.
I've been working for over 1 year on a new lease with UCLA, and they've just been taking their pokey time, and it's been over a year, and I still haven't signed it yet, so we can't get started building. And in the meantime, I'm thinking, my age, wow, what am I doing? What am I doing? I'm going to start a brand new school somewhere else at my age. What am I doing? But I love what I do, and those of you who are teachers, you know that teaching for me is my therapy, and I'm so appreciative of being involved in teaching because it doesn't pay a lot of money necessarily, but it's not the money. It's the joy of giving this music to so many people and see what happens to them over the years. And so anytime I kind of I don't teach as much as I used to. I should teach 6 days a week. Now I teach only three. Um, and every time I think, oh gosh, I have to teach all afternoon, I don't know if I can make it. As soon as I get started, it's like somebody gave me a vitamin B shot, it's fantastic. So I guess I'm going to be teaching for a long time. I'm not sure I'm going to own my own business forever, though. I'm thinking maybe of selling it maybe in the next 2 to 3, 4 years, something like that.
Does
So
UCLA have a space that you would rent? Is that the UCLA connection?
UCLA has so much real estate.
Mm.
They just bought this whole big thing down in Palos Verdes Estates for to expanding. They don't have enough room for all the students, so they have all this real estate. They have real estate off their own center UCLA property, all around the university for graduate students. And so they own these buildings. They just have tons of money to do that. And so this one place is a place where they have uh, medical students that live upstairs, but they have uh, vendors on the first floor. That's very common in Los Angeles now. So
You
that's what
teach
we're trying to get.
instrument. I'm sorry. I wondered if you taught, do you teach people instruments or you personally, do you teach how to play instruments, or are you more into theory, or what is?
Oh, now you mean personally, because we have about 35 teachers that teach all sorts
Yeah.
of instruments and voice and conducting, composition, music theory. It's a comprehensive music conservatory, and
Hmm.
we're in our 53rd year. So yeah.
Wow.
What instruments do you
Wow.
personally teach?
Well, I don't know if you remember this about me, but I played double bass in high school. But I don't do that anymore. But I teach piano, voice, composition, music theory, and little kids classes of just total musicianship classes called Harmony Road, which is a lot of fun to see these
Cool.
little faces light up. Mhm.
Oh,
And do you remember you taught my father the organ?
I sure do. Yes, this is a cute story because I haven't seen Ellen in a long time.
You're
But
right.
Ellen's parents were friends with my parents, and they both lived in Brentwood. And I guess when your mom passed away, right?
Right.
Her dad wanted to learn how to play the piano. I didn't know he was playing the organ, but he was such a good student. He was one of my older students. How old was he? I don't know.
He
How old was
died
he?
in 2009, and he was 96 and a half.
Okay, well, I think I probably taught him for about 6 or 7 years. Ellen's dad, and he did really well. He was a doctor, and he was
Yes.
really bright, and he really wanted to keep his brain going, and it was really fun to teach him. I don't think he was the oldest student I taught. I think the oldest student I've ever taught was about 95.
Oh
wow.
my.
Mhm.
Okay.
Not too late. If you haven't learned how to play piano or some other instrument, it's not too late for anybody here because it's a wonderful thing to do for your brain, and it's
Yeah.
enjoyable.
He
Um,
loved it, and he loved you.
Ah,
uh,
it was mutual. It was very mutual. Thank you.
Danny, how is your hip? Danny's had his third hip replacement, so I'm eager to hear how it went. If they did it the right
Does
hip
he
this time.
does he have 3
You,
hips?
you have to unmute.
No, actually, this was the fourth hip replacement. I had three, 1994, 2000, and 2006. And this is the fourth on the same hip. And I followed the protocol and everything, but it just degraded. Well, one was a defective prosthesis, but thank you for asking. No, I'm still on a walker, but I can go to a cane pretty soon, and it's healing. The infection is healing. It was,
Good.
yeah, no, it was hard because I had to go to a nursing facility for a month afterwards because of an infection. But thank you for calling on me second, because I might get a call from someone that's delivering dinner. But but thank you. I'm doing okay. And it's really great to see everyone. And I appreciate Gay, you always doing these. And you're always Gay, not Gail to me.
And
'Cause
you're
that's,
always Danny to me, not Dan.
yeah, yeah. And so, but I have Anne, is your maid, were you Gresham, Anne Gresham? Hi,
That's me. That's me. Your family and my family. Do you remember this? When we went to was it Sequoia? No, it wasn't Sequoia. It
some
was
camp.
what?
Yeah, some camp,
No, we went to camp together, but also our families went to is it not Sequoia? What's higher than
well,
Sequoia?
Yosemite or it was,
Yosemite. We went to Yosemite, and we palled around in Yosemite together when we were in our teens. Yeah,
right,
that's
right. What a
me.
good memory. Yeah, no, that's a great memory, right? Anne Gresham. It's great to see you. I haven't seen you in I don't know how many years. Um, Well, it's great to see everybody. And it's wonderful that you love what you're doing. I taught also, and I really miss teaching, but I volunteer at assisted living places. Well, now on Zoom because of COVID, leading discussions on current events, politics. So I feel like I'm still leading a seminar. You know what I mean? I pretend I'm still teaching, but no, it's great to hear that you love what you do, and it's also nice because I've never learned how to play anything musical ever in my life. That you said it's never too late. And there's a piano behind me, but that was my ex-wife's. I mean, she passed away, and I just have it. But I'll remember what you said, and that it's good for our brain, and it's never too late. Yeah. So maybe, but you don't teach anything in Berkeley, though, do you?
No, but I Zoom. I have students in Washington, up, North Washington, and two students in Texas. One of our
Oh,
teachers that's with
oh,
me,
on
she teaches
Zoom. Oh,
yes, Zoom. You can have Zoom lessons.
oh, thank you. Okay, maybe I will.
Sure.
And then I just had one last thing to ask. Are you and Bill Crouch sitting right next to each other?
I've never done this before. I've never put a background in, but I just thought it was much more interesting than my window to look at. So
How do you do that?
No, it's very relaxing.
You go to the video, and there's a little arrow to the right of it, and you tap on that, and it directs you to let me see. It directs you to video settings. So you go to video settings, I think, then maybe you go to advanced after that. Let's see. I don't know. Nope, that's not bringing it. I don't know. Does anybody else? Bill, over to Bill. How do you
I
do
did
it,
it so
Bill?
long ago, I forgot. I'd have to go back and retrace my steps. Yeah.
That's okay. I don't want anybody to lose their background.
Yeah. Hey, Danny, just to catch up. So the last operation you had before the reunion, right? So the end of May?
I'm sorry.
I'm also
Who are
hard
you
of
talking
hearing. Did you ask me if the last hip
Yeah.
replacement? Yes,
The last operation you had the last week in
Yeah.
May, right? Yeah.
memory.
what-
Yes, it was May 23rd.
Yeah.
23rd.
And then it got infected after that? Was that-
Yes, yes.
Oh my
How?
God.
How did that
yeah.
happen? Was it the hospital's fault?
I don't, maybe, but because, in hospitals, there's the most terrible infections, are in hospitals. But anyway, but like I went today, I don't know if I mentioned it. I just got back from seeing the surgeon, and I'm going to just take oral antibiotics, and that it's practically gone. So
Good.
it's good news. And yeah, and then that's right, Bill. It was May 23rd. And then Dave June scheduled, it was the 31st. Oh, here he is. And talking behind his back. I'm talking behind his back. He scheduled it the day of his birthday. His birthday was the 21st. I mean the 31st. Dave,
Yes,
your birthday, you scheduled a reunion on your birthday, May 31st. To be sure to have lots of people at your birthday.
and you didn't show up, Dan. Thank you a lot.
So was it a sepsis infection then?
Yeah, well, no, it wasn't sepsis. Just some horrible bacteria, some
Oh, okay.
super bug. But then I had IV antibiotics, and finally it killed it, or almost. Now I just take, orally, one at night, one in the morning. And like I said, the surgeon said I'm getting much, much better, and pretty soon get off the walker and on a cane. And then hopefully walk, well, I won't say normally, but be ambulatory. And and athletic like Dave when we played football together.
There you go.
And thank you for asking, Bill.
Yeah. I'm sorry you had to go through that.
Yeah, the fourth time.
I know, 4. I know. I
And
know.
on the
That's
same
pretty
hip.
unusual. But yeah, so I'm unique in some way.
Yeah, bionic man.
Yeah.
Dave, what have you been doing? Anything fun? And you and
Well,
Rosie and the kids?
We just had quite a health scare with our son. He had pancreatitis and he was hospitalized in ICU for 10 days.
Oh my God.
Got out last Sunday, week ago Sunday. Came and lived with us stayed at our house for until Friday, and then he finally went home. But very scary. It had triglycerides that they'd never seen them that high. I don't know what happened.
Do they have any idea what causes it?
No, he's diabetic now and will have to take insulin and some other things, but it was a life-threatening situation, pretty scary.
And he wasn't diabetic before the pancreatitis?
No,
Wow.
Wow.
not sure
How
what
old
caused
is
it.
he?
54.
Hmm.
Oh God.
He's older than Bill Crouch.
Oh, gee. But he's doing okay now, Dave.
Yes, we went and saw his own doctor today, and he's going to get labs again tomorrow and get on a regular program. And he's taking insulin, got the patch on so he can check his blood sugar anytime he needs to. We're doing everything right, so hopefully it won't reoccur.
And didn't he recently accept a professorship in Orange County?
Did he what?
Accept a professorship or a teaching position?
Yeah, he was part-time at Chapman. Now he's full-time at Chapman University. Yeah,
Okay.
but
Okay.
fortunately he had the summer off, so this kid had time off to recover. So
Thank God.
What does he teach? Architecture?
animation.
Animation, that's right.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I said that I would give the summary of the questionnaire. So should we hop into that and then come back to chat?
Sure.
Okay. So I need to share screen and do Microsoft summary. And do you see that page?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so I wanted you to see the generation. So people who were born in 1943 are technically silent generation. But I think because baby boomers were so influential that silents who were born that late are a lot of more like the baby boomers. But I want to see what you think. And then let's talk about that generations. But first, so the way this works is there were 9 women and 10 men who answered. And the red is female and the black is male. So it was interesting to me that people didn't move very far from LA. So most people stayed in California. And there was one woman who moved to Washington in the survey respondents, and 2 men who lived on the East Coast, including our John. So our parents were very traditional. They mostly were in intact marriages. Only one woman's parents were divorced, 2 men. Our mothers didn't work outside the home when we were young, for sure. Everybody felt safe just about in their neighborhoods to roam, and we had a lot of freedom. We roamed, and the moms didn't worry because the moms were at home. The dads didn't worry because they were the breadwinners. Did you know anxious or depressed teens? Most people said no. If they said yes, it was just like one or maybe 2. Whereas now it's an epidemic, it's a crisis. So it's a whole different generational issue this is for Gen Z. And we'll see what happens with Alpha, who is following. So let me go back to the dates just so you see where we are. So Generation X, is that most of your kids who were born 65 to 79, right?
Yes. Yes.
So yeah, that's the kids of Silence and Boomers. Millennials were born 1980 to 1994. Gen Z are the young ones born 95 to 2012, and Alpha 2013 to 2025. So our grandkids are mostly Z, right?
Oh, crap. I've got a smoke alarm going off and I'm not cooking.
Oh, stay safe.
And
It's probably the
I'm
heat.
in a rental house.
It's probably the heat.
Okay. I better get off this.
Yeah.
Bye.
Well-
Bye.
But come back when you're safe.
I can, yes.
Okay. And if you have comments on as we go along, make them.
Ah,
Well, I don't know about that business about very few people being anxious or depressed, or I wouldn't, I can't say I agree with that.
Well, the question was, did you
They're
know?
not here. I don't mean that people write, but in our class, I mean, Mike H. has died of a heroin overdose in 64, and he had a suicide attempt while he was in high school.
Who was that?
Mike H.'s.
Oh,
Who?
yeah, Mike Ages.
I don't
Yeah.
remember.
And then
I knew Mike Ages, but he didn't go to Uni High. He went to Hamilton.
he did go to uni for a month. Yeah, he was
He
there in
did?
19, yeah, he was there in 1906. He was there in 1959. I mean, because he was in Androcles and the Lion in spring, with drawing. I mean, we were in drama. So spring of 59, he was there through 1960, and there maybe
This is ridiculous.
Wow,
can't
I don't remember him being there. I always wondered.
get out of this.
I thought he went to Hamilton. He went to Palms, and we went to elementary school in Palms together.
he had a lot of moving around in different ways.
He was extremely bright.
That was for sure. That was very sure.
And very creative. But Gay, I just remember from sociology a long time ago. See, maybe the way you phrased the question, did you know anxious or depressed teens when we were teens? And well, I'm trying to think, is this relevant or not? Because I'm a little out of it from seeing the surgeon. But I remember Kinsey when he asked the question, do you masturbate? He got one response, and then he asked it, how frequently do you? And he got much different responses. So maybe people didn't want to admit that they were depressed or anxious. I wasn't depressed, but I do remember having anxiety. I'll tell you one thing. Is Dave still here?
Yeah.
Yep.
I had anxiety because I wasn't in the Viscounts, the most popular club. And Dave and Bill ruined my life because of status. Anyway,
What
I'll
club-
be quiet.
Danny,
I'll be
what club were
quiet
you
now.
in?
I'll be
Danny.
quiet now.
What Y club were you in?
Oh, I think it was called the Nomads. Tom Sprague was in it. It was as I remember, the most popular were the Viscounts on the upper level. Then there was the lower level. And then the third was the Grove. And the Grove is where, I don't want to say bohemian or counterculture, but more alternative, creative people like John Lees, artists, and maybe Michael H's. And yeah,
But I know I'm being very, I'm generalizing and being kind of stereotypical and stuff.
didn't we tend to use the word neurotic more than anxious or depressed?
Oh, yeah.
I remember that was, we used it, people used it so much. Oh, he's really neurotic. Oh, he's really neurotic. Oh, I'm neurotic. I
No,
mean, as I remember it.
and me too. Me too.
Yeah. I mean, you know,
And I'm not a blamer. I'm not a blamer, but I do hold Bill Crouch and Dave Kuhn responsible for my neuroses.
Hi, Frank. It's good to see you.
Hello.
Where are
I
you?
didn't go to uni, so I didn't have that problems.
Where
We
are
didn't have
you
clubs
now?
at Beverly. I was at Beverly. We didn't have clubs there.
Is that Frank Ponder?
Yeah.
Yeah. Hi, Danny.
Hi, Frank. Hi, Frank.
Danny,
Hi,
which
Bill.
do you think were the best girls' clubs?
Oh, God, I can't even remember the names of them. Was there Mademoiselle's? What one?
Mamsells.
Yeah.
Mamsells.
Mamsells and Parisians.
Mhm.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. But Frank, I thought you went to uni high. How did I
I
know
went
you
to
then?
Emerson. I went to Emerson until 8th grade, and then we moved to Beverly Hills.
Oh,
Ah,
We did Warner Avenue together. That's like a lifetime, anyhow.
but it's great to see you. It's great
You
to
too.
see you, Frank.
Yeah.
Frank,
You too.
we're going over the surveys that the ones that we have 9 women and 10 men who responded. And
Oh, I
we're
responded to that a long time ago, right?
okay, good.
Yeah.
Did you regularly attend Sunday school, church? More yeses than nos. This ties in with this traditional background.
Right.
And most people responded their marriages were intact. Peggy has her 58th, something like that, wedding
yeah.
anniversary today, so that's why she's not here. And Jenny, where are you and Gary at? How many years?
Well, we were married January, it's always easy to remember because we were married January 2nd, but we've been married 58 years. Yeah. So I'm not surprised. I mean, this is Peggy too. I remember her weddings.
Yeah. Well, just as a footnote, what makes it work? What enables you to stay with the same person for so long?
Well, love, love, respect, and children and history. And, you know, we've shared a life together. So, that's why you stay together, you know. And I think it's you fall in love with a young person and then they grow old and you know, you get sick and grouchy and everything else, but your life is together. So
Got too many years invested.
yes.
Yeah.
Well, and not only that, but I mean, in my situation, I just wouldn't think of anything. I mean, I've never even thought about a divorce because I just wouldn't. Not only the years invested, but the whole life, having your children, having your friends, it's my life too. Our life is together. So
Better that way.
Right.
and I feel really lucky too. Lucky and yeah, lucky. And it's good to see everyone. And thank you so much for sending pictures of the reunion. That was so nice of you to do. And I wanted to tell you too that I know we're on this, but just as a side note, my daughter, who's 53, I think that's how old she is. She took up playing. She never played piano, but took it up during COVID and had a little app on her phone and started playing. They had a piano in the house, and she just recently got a new one, and so she plays the piano now.
that's wonderful.
Yeah, I think it's super.
Cool.
Okay, go ahead, Gail.
So the happy marriage theme, what makes it work? Women said, make it your priority. The most popular was shared interests and goals. Have your own interests too, though. Respect, be affectionate with physically verbally. Don't go to bed mad. Forgive, be patient, be kind, be curious. In my book, Happy Marriages, that Dave and Rosie are in, they kind of emphasize patience, that, you know, you put up with people's imperfections because you're imperfect. Men said, say yes, dear. Pick the right spouse. A couple of men said that, and women didn't. Be affectionate, get your finances stable, be honest, have respect, compromise, appreciate her individual style, give each other space, listen, aim to please, know how to talk and argue, have shared interests. Dave, do you want to add to that? Because you've had a wonderful long marriage.
Yes, we have. We talked about it in previous Zoom sessions. I think it's important that you share the same values, particularly if you're a faithful person, a person of faith that the other person is also. I don't think that's absolutely necessary, but it certainly helps.
Yeah, and Bill, you've been married a long time too. What would you add?
I think the comments there are right on. I don't think I have much to add to that. And I agree with Dave about faith. Sharing that interest is much better than one person having faith and the other not. That's a hard bridge to cross.
Yep.
Most people had kids. Few had stepchildren. About half had grandchildren, or more than half. And they were involved in the care, especially the women. Men were a little bit more highly educated. The women's jobs were pretty traditional: teacher, nurse, office work, mom. Men more likely to be in business, finance, do non-traditional jobs like city planner. They were more likely to be Democrat than Republican. People definitely have health issues. Being 80 is not surprising.
We're 80?
Pardon?
We're supposed to be 80?
At age 80, or we can pretend that
That's
we're not.
that's biologically, right?
Yeah, right. And everybody agreed exercise and healthy food were the main ways to stay healthy. I would add, you know, the emotional part is important too, that you're interested in your life and feel you're doing good and that kind of thing. More people had not had COVID. What are you most proud of? Family was number one, relationship with kids and spouse. Women said family, overcome challenges is what they're proud of. Creating community, that was Ann Pardee. The children they've helped, that was Sherry. And men said the students they've taught, being generous, found Jesus, research. Women's were a little bit more focused on other people, relationships. And then what's your advice for young people today? Women said, be kind, be open to new ideas, get out of your comfort zone, say I'm sorry if you can't jump over a hurdle, walk around it, move on. Don't prioritize your looks, they fade. Take care of your body, this precious planet. Develop your sense of humor and intuition. Extend love and grace. Limit screen time. I say amen to that. Life is short. And men said, keep learning, reading throughout your life. It's ongoing learning. Think for yourself, be wary of social media, be yourself. John said, Walt Whitman said, dismiss whatever insults your soul. Tap into your inner life and meditate. So, John, do you want to comment on that? Why you quoted Walt Whitman?
Oh, well, there's a list of things that he wrote that were really pretty amazing. Include things like stand up for the stupid and the crazy, go freely with powerful, uneducated persons, a lot of them. But I think people can be told growing up in schools, sometimes by omission, that, well, we really don't expect very much of you. And I somehow my mother put it into my head, you are not to listen to these people. And I found, I of course didn't know the Whitman quote, but I mean, I found it years and years and years later, but I guess that's what it was about a lot. Maybe it was about me personally too, but don't quit, don't, or to paraphrase Woody Allen in I think I've done this before. What is it? Play it again, Sam. He had Humphrey Bogart's ghost, to paraphrase. Listen, I never knew an art dealer in my life that didn't understand a shiv in the ribs or a slug from a 45. Which has nothing to do with what I was doing.
If you take a look at the generations, I'm wondering if you have any comments about generational differences, looking at your children and grandchildren or students.
I heard a socialist once, sociologist, not socialist, speak about that. And he was talking about those born in the 20s and 30s who learned to skimp and save and get by with everything. And then he skipped a decade and went into the 50s and 60s, how they were entitled and got everything they wanted and learned how to spend like crazy. And then he said, then there are those of us who were born in the 40s. We have one foot on each side. On one hand, we feel we should be entitled, but we're not going to spend the money on ourselves that easily because we're supposed to skimp and save. So I'm wondering if that applies to more people besides myself in this group.
Any comments? Dave?
Yes, yeah, I would say yes. I'm very conscious of not going to any extreme and keeping some for the future, hopefully providing for the future.
What do you notice in your kids who are Gen X, who are supposed to be independent and kind of lost a little bit, I guess? They were latchkey kids. Do you see any generational differences in kids and grandkids?
Oh, grandkids, yeah.
What do you see?
They're spoiled rotten.
How so?
Well, if they don't get it from one grandparent, my grandchildren have 4 grandmothers, 2 great-grandmothers, and 2 grandfathers. So they have a massive choice of people who to play off each other. And they do.
Well, what they used to say about Gen Z is that they were fragile teacups, anxious. They had helicopter parents who overly protected them, were worried about their safety all the time. So the parents are talking to the professor, why did my kid get a C? How are they doing in the dorms? Any thoughts about millennials generation?
Describes my daughter. Although she lets her 16-year-old take the metro. to the beach or to work. So I'm proud of that.
I'm finding that that my grandchildren feel entitled, and they don't really necessarily thank me very often for doing things for them. Or I don't know. I don't live near any of my grandchildren, but I love them. But it just seems like there's this distance, and I'm trying to remember and recall. Maybe you guys can recall. How did you treat your own grandparents and your own parents? It seems like as I become a parent of a grown woman who's 45, who's very successful, and my grandchild, that I feel like I deserve to be treated just a little bit more like meaningful in their lives, and not just kind of, oh, she's kind of there, you know. But then I keep thinking, when I was a teenager and a young girl, I don't remember acknowledging my parents and grandparents either very much. So I just wonder if that's just the way it is. What's your
Ellen, what are you thinking? Because you're close to your grandkids.
Okay, I just spent 4 days with my 15-year-old granddaughter up here in Flagstaff, and I have the time of my life. The kid is responsive, responsible. We just had a blast together, and I loved it, and so did she. And this same kid is into robotics and is into DECA, which is government. And so I flew to Orlando to pick her up from a DECA conference, and flew her to a robotics conference in Dallas at the end of April. And I was so impressed with how well she held herself, and she's the programmer for their robot. And she's a smart kid, and she's interested in a lot of things, not necessarily everything I'm interested in, because we wouldn't go to museums, and, I couldn't take her to places here, but that she, didn't want to go to. But we had a blast together, and she was terrific. And I have other grandchildren that I do a lot of stuff with and have a very good time. And the only thing that I find objectionable about this generation, my grandchildren's generation, is the constant use of the cell phone.
Yeah.
And I think it's awful.
Yeah.
And I remember having family discussions with my children, not necessarily my parents, my children. And I had a mother who was not real hands-on, and I decided to be a different kind of mother. And I've raised 3 fantastic human beings, and I'm really proud of it. And they're just good people. And they in turn are raising good kids. But the cell phone, I think, is the biggest problem, the lack of communication.
I think we all agree, right? They're on the screens all the time.
Yeah.
And it's
So that's-
addictive, dopamine addiction.
Ooh.
I mean, they get addicted
Oh yeah, to the cell phone. Yes.
to the video screen.
Yes.
Games and stuff. Yeah. It's interesting that girls are more than half likely to be depressed and anxious, and they do more of the social media, Instagram chat kind of stuff than boys. So I don't know if that's the explanation why girls are having, or maybe they just talk about it.
People can be meaner on screen than in person.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
guess.
They can say nasty things on screen. And, the gossip we used to tell each other quietly is now broadcast. And that's, I think, a big part of that.
That's a good point. Yeah, well, you'd talk with your girlfriend or your boyfriend on the phone and talk, but it wouldn't go to hundreds of people.
Right.
In the college environment, I guess this would apply more to Gen Z. You've got safe spaces, trigger warnings, all type of soft approaches to confrontation. What is creating that? Is that the parents or is that the educational environment?
Well, all I know is that millennials' parents were accused of being helicopter parents and, you know, overly protected because they were worried because of school bombings and kidnapping and child molesting and all the stuff in the news. So if the parents create the kind of environment, these kids are fragile teacups, that you have to give them trigger warnings if you talk about something difficult, which seems crazy. That's all I can think of. What do you think, Bill?
I think they were not given proper parental guidance in that they should be able to confront and accept confrontation and be able to evaluate it and be a critical thinker. And I think you're right. It probably is part of the helicopter thing being so well protected. They don't know how to handle confrontation or anything that they find to be upsetting. So maybe, so I think it probably is the parental influence more than anything else.
Yeah,
Definitely,
and
definitely.
also the people are afraid that things have gotten scarier. So there's a reason to be afraid raising kids. It's like, you know, all of us roamed, our parents did not worry an iota about us roaming all over the neighborhood and climbing trees and throwing rocks and whatever we did. But now probably most people can't do that.
Right.
Frank, were you going to say something?
No, I think I see it with my daughter where I think I've helped her become a helicopter parent rather than the bulldozer parent she used to be.
What's the
Maybe that's
difference?
better.
What's the
The
difference?
difference, she plows the field for her kids to do everything. So, you know, I guess that's just the newer term that I've heard. But she overdoes it and but the kids have come out pretty good so far.
She's
Got one.
overly protective.
She in certain instances she's overly protective and overly active with them, and in other concerns she gives them their freedom too, so it's kind of in between. You know, I'm proud of it when she gives them their freedom and you know, and you know, when my granddaughter now can take the metro to the beach or to work, Trader Joe's, Olympic, and Barrington, if anybody's going there, the little redhead. So
Jenny, what do you notice with 4 kids and a bunch of grandkids?
Well, you talked about them, or I think that your description was something, they're fragile. I just don't think of my grandkids that way because they've, I don't know, they've kind of stepped up to the plate and they do their schoolwork, they get part-time jobs, they have friends and mingle well. And so I haven't really, I don't think of them as fragile or scared or anything. I think they're very well adjusted. I'm proud of them. And Anne, it was Anne, you were, because you don't live close. I have children here in town that I was very involved with as they were growing up when they were little. And of course, I'm very close to them, and I regret that the others, although they only live in the Bay Area, but I don't see them as often and didn't have that day-to-day contact. And it is hard. It is hard, and you want to play fair with them too. So, but there again, they too, and all the reports that I get when I see them, they're always very well adjusted and happy, and they seem to be coping well with life.
And what do you see, because you work with a lot of young people, so what do you see in terms of generation Alpha and Z and millennials?
Well, I would say that the majority of people that have the parents, or if we're talking about young people who've decided that music education is really important, are really wonderful parents to begin with, because at our conservatory, unless they're over 10 years old, we insist that the parents stay with them and enjoy the class with them and devote themselves that time with a child and not do cell phones or file nails or do other things, but really concentrate on their kid. I always tell them that childhood goes by really quickly, and this is the one time they can just really enjoy their kid, and instead of just dropping them off at a lesson. So I have kind of a stilted view of it, and I feel lucky that a lot of the students that I have are very grateful and and appreciate the lesson. So I've had some tough customers, and most recently I had this little boy who, well, he's not little anymore. He's 14, and I've had him since oh gosh, he was about 2 or 3.
Wow.
And he was doing okay in music, but he got, I don't know if you know this school in it's called Harvard Westlake. It's a very prestigious school in Los Angeles. I don't know. He wanted to get into Harvard Westlake, and part of his application was to play piano and show that he was skilled at it, and he did pretty well with that. And I wrote him a glowing recommendation. He's a Jewish boy who was bar mitzvahed. He hated learning Hebrew, and all of a sudden he hates practicing and hates music, and his whole attitude changed. He was just very belligerent and saying terrible things to his mother, just berating her. It was horrible to watch this change of character, and I'm just hoping it turns around. He wanted to quit. The parents were very mamby-pamby and wanted the little, he's not little anymore, boy to quit. And I wrote them a letter and said, no, you can't have him quit in the middle of things. You're doing him a total disservice until he's finished doing something. And so he stuck it out. And I just got a thank you note saying, thank you for helping him to become a man. So I like that, but I'm encouraged by the kinds of people that I see, the young ones, because they're very into helping with global warming, and are concerned about Ukraine. They're very into the topics that we as adults would be, and we try to reflect music that reflects that. And so I have a lot of hope for the future that I see, but I'm looking at it from rose-colored glasses, I'm afraid, because I see, there's homeless, there's a lot of terrible situations, and fortunately, I don't have to deal with that. End of my report.
Okay, thanks. What, you in the news, I keep hearing how unhoused people is such a huge problem in LA, and they can't keep up with it. And some people are sleeping in tents, and some people have places where they can go in their cars and sleep. So is there a reason why it's such an epidemic?
Yes, the rents. Housing, you can't find a house between Culver City and the North Valley from the beach to downtown for under $1.5 million.
To rent?
No,
Not
to
for
buy.
rent.
To buy, it'd be a 1-bedroom might be $1,000 to $1,500.
That's ridiculous.
Not even a 1-bedroom, a studio.
Yeah, I couldn't afford to live in Los Angeles. I live out, in the country in New York State. I mean, I hear about the rents that people are supposed to pay, and
Yeah, I couldn't afford to live here.
I wouldn't.
Didn't buy it 25 years ago.
But now they have a lot of new buildings going up like crazy, at least in West Los Angeles. They're building these 8-story apartment houses. And I think they are required, this is not for sure, but I think they're required by the city to have a certain percentage of these apartment buildings dedicated to low-cost housing for certain people that apply for those
Yeah.
few units. And that's the condition for them to build a building of an 8 stories. So they are building a lot of new
Yeah,
stories.
it's not gonna help the problem that much, because they're gonna get around it.
No,
Why not? What would help?
Because they're gonna get around it. It costs too much to build because of all the regulations and everything. It costs
Mhm.
$800,000 approximately to build a one-room condo today.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's just that the land costs so much, and then all the regulations and the city, to get anything built, it takes you at least 3 to 5 years of lobbying and getting permits and redoing the plans and fighting the city and fighting the residents and everything else before you can get anything done.
John, are you drawing?
This minute,
Yeah.
today I haven't been.
Oh,
No.
I want to see what you're drawing.
No, I haven't been drawing today, but I've been really enjoying watching all this, and I remember so much. Frank, you and I don't think you probably remember me, but I have a freakish memory.
She does.
I
Yes.
mean, I remember things really well, and I have a very good memory of you in the B7 at Emerson. They had, I think on rainy days, they'd have like B7 indoor days. That one was held in the girls' cafeteria, something adjoining the gym, and they were playing rock and roll music. And did they have a thing? Was it called the bunny hop? It was
I'm sure it was, yeah.
Oh, yeah, in a line. You would
But
go.
I was
Hop, hop,
I
hop.
didn't have a clue about how to do it, but I watched you and Linda Bates dancing. And I was just thinking, oh my God, they're so advanced. They really know how to be teenagers. And I was sitting next to a guy, Ronnie Schosberg. I think he left, and he say, why don't I ask a girl to dance and you can cut in?
Well, you
No.
had to have a girl ask you to dance. That's how Linda Bates and I got together.
Was it really?
Yeah.
Well, it really
we're friends again. I still see her on Facebook once in a while. So
whoa.
I
Well,
don't know
so
if she can.
that's my Frank Ponder memory, and I remember you very distinctly.
Yeah. Well, I think Gail will remember at Warner Avenue, they had rock and roll music where they played songs and we would dance in the 6th grade, I guess. I can't imagine. I mean, it was boys and girls, and we had cotillion and all kinds of stuff. So it was very different than my grandkids.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, because they don't have dance lessons?
No.
No, not even dance lessons. They're girls, and they're not overly interested in dating, which is kind of weird.
how old are they?
Frank, she wants to know how old your grandkids are.
Oh, I have one who's 18 and one who's 16.
And they're not interested in dating. That's interesting.
Yeah, I know.
That's very interesting.
Yeah. Well, but they went to an all-girls school too, so that's part of it. They went to Archer, and so that's an all-girls school. My daughter was the same. She also went to an all-girls school. She went to Westlake, and
My mother taught at Westlake.
Yeah.
She was the Latin teacher there from, I think, 1955 to 1970.
Well, my daughter, then I don't think they taught Latin when she was there. She was born in 73, so.
Anything else that's on people's minds or memories from the brain of John Lees?
The memory. I don't know about the brain, but I do remember things.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
He
remembered that,
remembers.
John.
He could identify everyone in the class pictures from
Yeah.
Emerson and Uni.
Whoa.
Wow.
Uni I can't do. I lose it at uni. At uni, it wasn't so much, it didn't seem so much about the class as the interests. So it was sort of like the club, I guess, for the equivalent would have been the drama department.
Mhm.
And the people at the LA drama department and the Hollywood High department
Oh, that's
used to
different.
have parties together and stuff.
John,
Gail,
what's
are
your-
you? Oh, I'm sorry.
John, what's your last name?
Lees, Lees.
And he's a
Okay.
famous artist, so you can look him up.
All right, good.
I will.
Moderately, well, moderately.
Moderately famous.
I'm gonna have to say
Yeah.
goodbye because I have to call my landlord about this fire alarm going off.
Okay.
Right.
So it was
I think
nice
we're-
seeing all of you.
Thanks,
I-
Ellen. I think we're good.
I
Any-
need to, I need to go too. but
Okay.
Thanks so much. It was so good seeing
Thanks.
everybody.
Nice seeing you, Ginny.
Me
Yeah.
too.
We'll see you in August.
Okay,
Okay.
okay.
I'm gonna practice the bunny hop until then.
How do I